Na mtazamaji, wahadhiri na wadau wengine wa vyuo vikuu leo wamekutana kuweza kujadili mswada wa kuweza kupata fedha za kufadhili utafiti katika shughuli za masomo kwenye vyuo vikuu.
Programs that receives a significant funding, social and behavioral sciences. That's where the majority of scholars are. That's where most of our students are. Some people say unfortunately. Some people say it's okay. You've heard of people saying, let us face out anthropology, Swahili, history. You've heard that, eh? Let's have some, but that's misinformed. They are not quite informed. These things go hand in hand. We have engineering and the percentage. We have math and computer science, best business practices and services and so on, food production. You talk about the big environment, the Mao, and ecological issues. They receive significant funding. Life and physical sciences, languages, journalism, and so on and so forth. These are some of the areas. It's not all, there are others. But these are some of the significant areas that receive funding. Talk about sources of research funding. Who are the people who fund research in this country for our universities? As you would expect, the bulk of the funding will come from government sources. Government here, we have the national government, and increasingly the county governments are beginning to chip in, especially those that are headed by people like Professor Kufadhili, who know the meaning of research and education. You find they will chip in here and a bit of that. So 68% of the research funds come from government, both national and county, overwhelmingly, of course, from national government. 32% come from business people, industry, NGOs and other donors. Yes, let's continue. We're looking at government capitation and institutional funds in all universities. I think, George, what are you saying? 84% is? Pardon?
84% worth less than 50 million.
Yeah. In terms of what money they receive, I get it. That over 84% of our universities, when it comes to funding from government, they ended up with less than 50 million. That already begins to give you an idea before you even get more findings. That if more than 84% of our universities receive less than 50 million, and for heaven's sake, we know how expensive research is. Research is so expensive that it may surprise you that the budget for Coca-Cola for research is several times the budget of many African countries. The money Coca-Cola sets aside, you can Google and find out. I don't have the figures, but in your own time, find out how much money a company like Coca-Cola would spend on research and advertising. You'll be shocked. It will be several times your national budget, running into sometimes all these drug companies. They invest heavily, hundreds of US dollars, hundreds of millions of US dollars. And that's why some people are whispering that by now, most likely, the cure for AIDS has been around for years. But the companies that invested so much in research are waiting to recoup their profits by selling this, what do you call them? ARVs. Because once you come up with a cure for AIDS, the tradition has been you cannot commercialize it. It's not a damn thing. You cannot commercialize. So research is extremely expensive. So if you are saying universities get 50 million, 50 million is hardly enough for one serious research. Hardly enough. And yet we are saying over 80% of our universities ended up receiving 50 million and less of research. And when it comes to money from industry, NGOs, and donors. What are we saying there, George? 98% of universities receive less than 50 million from those sources. Yes, next. Research publications, journal referrals, and citations. Those of you who have postgraduate education will know this is very, very the backbone of research of our university. How many of your scholars are published? In what journals? How often are they cited? You know? And this then again would be part of what would inform funding. That some funding is really based on how strong you are in research as a university. And how strong you are may be seen through your activities of research. And those activities of research are themselves captured in the publications, articles and journal articles, and in what kind of articles those publications appear, and how many times are they cited by other people. So going by that, you can see that University of Nairobi leads in terms of those journals and citations at that 9%, and then you can see the rest going down with even big universities like Egerton having 1.4%. Next. Okay, let's look. Top 10 largest research funding beneficiaries. Again, of that little money the government and other donors give, how is it shared? You find that if you look at those big universities, 10 of them, they scooped a whole 69% of the money. All the money allocated for research from the donors. You find 10 universities scoop 69%, and so on and so on. If you are looking at public universities, then the top 10 public universities run away with 65%, and top private universities, top 10 of them, will run away with about 16% of the monies allocated. You can then see that means a lot of these other universities barely have anything left for them to use research. It's an anomaly that you want to correct going forward. Next. Then we come to top 10 largest research funding beneficiaries from the government of Kenya and those other institutions. Kenya government, county, and the internal funding. Internal funding is how much money a university sets aside from its own income for research. Put together, the top universities, again, you can see 80%, and so on and so forth and so forth. And again, when it comes money from other donors like NGOs, business, and the rest, again, the top 10 national universities scoop, you can see percentages. So that the picture is the same. That a lot of the cream of the research is taken by a handful of universities. By the time the top 10 or so have had their share, left. Next. We were also looking at how universities position themselves for research.